And speed to market comes with scaling your company. Okay, so if you have the right systems in place before the storm hits in your sales section, so we're going to talk about scaling real quick. We got plenty of time. And there's 3 critical areas to grow your company. One is sales, production, and collections. If you don't figure out those 3 pillars in this business, you're not going to be around that long. It's great if you go out and sell a lot of money. If you can't build it, you're not going to be around that long. Certainly if you can't collect it or have collection problems, you're going to run out of money. So if you don't understand systems and people to put in place, now if you do it all yourself, that's great. I used to do that too, do everything. Eventually for you to grow, especially you only got a $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, you can run $3 million out yourself, even up to 5 with small, an assistant, small people. If you want to get to 15, 20 million, there's a different way you got to look at your business. And that comes with systems, internal controls, and people. So how long do you guys think your company would last if you got hit by a bus tomorrow? I know it's a pretty graphic picture. Ooh, you guys must have been listening yesterday. The average company lasts 30 days. And, even back in our heyday when I thought I was scaling. Now, when I was in my heyday of scaling, was running 5 or 6 offices, I remember leaving our DC, Virginia office alone. I didn't go back there for a year. I had a good little general manager in place. He had a little gal in the Austin accounts receivable. They had a nice little sales team. And they perpetuated, they didn't kill it, it was the second year after the storm, but they still perpetuated $200,000 to $300,000 a month in residential sales. We just let it be, and that was okay. Now, if I would have went back there and pumped some things up, I probably could have bunched that up, but I was happy that an office I didn't have to fly back to was just doing okay. So that was a stage 2 scaling effort right there. But the average business would only last 30 days, guys, and as owner entrepreneurs, your ultimate goal is to sit on that island someday, I would hope, and have your business perpetuating revenues and profits without your daily involvement for 12 hours a day, right? Isn't that the ultimate dream? I know we love our business and love working in it every day and all that, and it can't survive without it. Business can't survive. Our ego comes in. Yeah, the business is on my shoulders and can't survive a week without me, and that's all great, but at some point, especially as you age, there's other things you want to do. It's nice to put a business system in place where you don't have to be there every day. So you'll leave your business for 30 days, and it still at least goes like this. It should be like this. It doesn't go like this 60 days later. And so the goal of scaling is to get to that level, and that requires team, systems, internal controls, and what 3 functions? Sales, production, and collections as a starting point. If you can't get to those 3, you'll never scale. We already talked about my story of scaling, so we can skip that. Think of a football coach who keeps winning everywhere he goes, even if he has crappy team members or mediocre ones. Why is that? Is it the guy? And I'm not really a big football guy, so I couldn't tell you who does what. But it's the system, his system for building winning organizations more than a team player. Sometimes great team players don't get along. You could have 2 high-speed sales guys. There's no synergy in your team, even though they're good. And so a great football coach keeps winning because he has a system. And so that's what we're talking about, systems here. 3 stages of company growth, guys. You got the startup, owner-dependent, and rapid growth. Most of us are stuck in, as I was, stage 2. That's a business that's dependent on you. Does anybody here can leave their business for 6 months and it will be the same as when you left it or growing? Is there anybody like that in here? Okay. Most of us are stuck in stage 2. Stage 3 is rapid growth, exit stage. Okay, that doesn't mean you have to leave your company, but that means that if you choose to leave for 30, 60, 90 days, your company is going to at least tick away because your systems are running the company, and it's not you interviewing a sales guy and you yelling at your production manager or dropping jobs. It's a people and system that's in place. It's common sense, but you have to understand how these systems work in each of these, in sales, production, and collections. There's a, and you guys have the systems in the book and in the handouts that we're going to talk about. Some, everybody's got to tweak their own system. Those are what worked well for me. At stage 2, the entrepreneur is working his butt off, doing everything, building sales, wearing nearly every hat in the company. Owners run around, make key decisions, close big sales. Everybody in that boat? Owners? How many owners in here still sell? How many owners in here have a sales manager? Full-time sales manager? How many owners here have a production manager? Don't like doing production. I hate it. After that year in Columbus, I hated doing production. Whenever I opened an office, my first thing was, I need a field trainer, deal with all these salesmen, all their whiny issues and business cards and all this crap. I need a sales manager, I need a sales coordinator, and I need a hire production manager. So I don't want to deal with Mrs. Smith. So my immediate goal when I opened an office was always to fill those positions and put a system in so I could move out and do fun stuff, either open another office or go sell myself. So the system was always first. But to advance past stage 2, and we already touched on this, the entrepreneur needs to focus on building sustainable systems in 3 basic areas. Sales, which is lead generation and conversion, which is really in our business, we're not putting billboards up to generate advertising leads. We're creating door knockers. We go out and do canvas teams and MAs and sales guys and how to motivate them. How to convert those leads into sales using CRM technology like MaxCon software to track your leads and convert those back into sales. Production and collections. So I think we beat this to death, guys, but the three core business functions that we need to master are sales, production, collections. So scaling your company requires a combination of strong base of team, company systems, internal controls. So a lot of guys, I made this mistake myself when we were growing, is, I get 4 rock stars on my team, got a good production manager. Oh, we're good to go, man. This team, they're never going to leave. They're rock solid. They're motivated. They're going to do this forever. Those things never last forever. And so besides your team, you don't want to be a team-reliant company. Even though you could have a great team, if you don't also have systems, internal controls for the guy that gets hit by the bus or leaves, you're now dependent on that one top sales producer. Oh, so-and-so's going to sell $1 million. He's going to do it again next year. No, he's not. No, he's not. Not always. And so you have to have a system in place to recreate that team. Accounts receivable manager leaves, no big deal. I got a system to train her. I can hire a new one out of Craigslist. She'll be trained in next week. Here's your training program. Here's how much you get paid. A whole system. Salespeople, 3 guys left, we're going to start their own company. Who cares? We're doing a phase 1 next Friday. I got 5 new green beans in there. They'll be signing deals on Saturday. I got a field trainer in place. And so you're confident when you go to bed at night that your system recreates the business, the revenues and profits, and not people. The people are important, but they're only one part of the 3-leg stool. I think we just said this. When you attempt to grow or scale your company based solely on key people, you'll have created a new problem for yourself. Now you have a people-dependent business. And what's worse, sometimes those people aren't as passionate as you about your business, right? I mean, you're the entrepreneur. Most of you guys are the entrepreneur. You're the guy who took the risk, started the business. You wake up every day, you don't need an alarm clock. You get up at 7 a.m., I want to make, you want to make money. Not everybody's like that, right? Not everybody has that same drive. And so, unfortunately, when you scale your company, you're not hiring other entrepreneurs to work for you. You're hiring people that have other goals and dreams, and they want to go home at 5 o'clock, see their kids. They're not as passionate as you are. So when you scale, especially out of one office, you're not there to micromanage it. You're dealing with the reality that your bell-shaped curve is going to go down as you grow. And so the system's internal controls help make that not happen, or at least slow it a bit. Systems are just a reliable process procedure that are in writing. Like we're going to talk about those today. You have some of those packets in the blue and black folder systems in writing, so everybody understands what the system is. That you implement on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. They become part of your company culture. You don't even have to tell your field trainer what to do anymore because I know I'm down to 90 days. Tomorrow we talk about a blitz schedule. It's called the post-phase 1 field training program. And the 90-day blitz is on the wall. And every day at 3 o'clock, 3 days a week, and Saturday, the field trainer shows up, and everybody knows he shows up at 3, he's going to run a blitz, and it becomes part of your culture. You don't have to sit there as a manager and go, hey, how come no one's on a blitz? It just happens because it's now culture, and he was hired that way to become culture. And so once you make those things culture, all of a sudden you're training new guys all the time, 3 days a week and Saturdays. But you have to put that system on a wall. It has to be visual. When you hire the field trainer, you say, 3 days a week, you will run a blitz from 3 to 4, and Saturdays from 10 to 3. And if they're hired that way and it's in their comp plan with positive and negative reinforcement, it becomes company culture where you can actually leave for a week and you don't have to manage the blitz. And so that's when we're talking about systems, it's all the little things. It's the things in writing. It's the reinforcement in the comp plans. It's all the things that create a system where you don't have to micromanage it anymore as an owner. At least you still got to spot check people, but you don't have to sit there all day and go, why is nobody selling in the field? Henry's in here, nobody's training them. Send them on a ride-along. That's how I learned. The ride-along? Just go out with John. Get out of my face. So I got to build jobs. Internal controls. Okay, tomorrow we're going to talk about, for me, when I had 5 offices, production managers looking at a job file turned in by a sales guy. Unless you pre-cap that job. Now, if you're in the office and you're over the shoulder of everybody, yeah, you can say, okay, 300 square, that's good to go. What do you do when you have an office in another state? You're not over their shoulder saying it. You have to have a system, a written system in place to decide if that job goes on production hold or it goes through supplementing or it gets kicked back to the homeowner because it's just salesman gave away a $10,000 upgrade and free siding and they'll tank the company. I mean, those things happen with new salespeople. So a simple rule like pre-capping, 20%. If a job under 20%, thing goes on production hold. It gets supplemented. It goes back through supplementing. Then you have some peace of mind knowing in Virginia, they're not going to build jobs under 20% because you have a system and a rule that says you can't. So there's 100 different internal controls that we have in some of the systems. I'm not going to talk about all here, but there's all kinds of comp plans. For you owners out there, your storm hits, everybody's putting sales ads in Craigslist, and you just want to have 5 guys out there inking deals, and people are calling you, hey man, I get no office expense, 50%. I just need $1,000 a week and a truck and a free hotel. And anybody experience that stuff? You don't want to hire those guys. You gotta have a system in place. I'll tell you a quick story. I had a guy, didn't know him from Adam, came in, said he sold, I sold $1 million for so-and-so, $1 million for so-and-so. I've had a lot of those guys, but this guy in particular, he seemed like a nice guy. I'd want to hire him. I'm like, look, show me your 1099, which you made last year. That'll tell me how much you sold. Of course, he didn't have one. I was just joking with him. And I go, look, you say you're doing all this. Everybody says this. I'll put you at 50% in writing on your comp plan. And he wanted a reduced office expense and all that. It's like, sometimes you have to negotiate with star players. But I put contingencies on it in his comp plan. You just sell, if you're a $1 million producer, you're gonna sell an average of how much per month? 80 to 100,000, right? As long as and that was about the range, 80, I think it was 100,000 I put in there. As long as you hit close to 100,000 a month, you'll get 50%. But if you're one of these guys that come in and turn in 100 and then you get on a 40, 30, 20, like a lot of them do that sing the song but can't back it up, right? You're going down to 40%. So that's a negative reinforcement, right? The positive is he got his 50, but if he didn't actually produce like he said he was gonna, like some of these guys don't, there was a negative. Now, if he had one bad month because his daughter's sick or something, so be it, we'd skip it. But I'm telling if a guy's going this right away, he's not a 50, he shouldn't be a 50%. So that's an example of a negative reinforcement. Same with GP, gross profit. How many of you guys, I know some of you guys pay guys off the top. I used to do that too. We'll talk about that more tomorrow. I don't recommend it because eventually you want people involved in a profit mindset of your company, but sometimes it makes sense to pay guys off the top. I would never pay a manager again off the top. I made that mistake one year, 2% off the top. Oh, that was a nightmare. But I know some of you guys still do that, so we'll talk about it tomorrow. And again, not every way is the right way. There's certain ways you'll learn the hard way sometimes. But AR, gross profit. If a job caps at 10% GP, Chad, if you got a sales guy, he turns in $1 million. Let's say, well, it's a nice job. It's a job, and for whatever reason, it capped out at 10%. Maybe it gave away too much stuff. Are you going to pay, and that guy's at 50%, are you going to pay him the exact same if it's almost barely above, in the red, above the red, that you would on a 30% job? Some guys do because they don't have these details laid out in their comp plans. My belief is, and this is, if you want to run a company the right way, is you should bonus the guy when he goes over 30 or 40, maybe a couple points. We do 3 and 6, so if it's over 30, they get a 3% hit up. If it goes over 40% GP, they get a 6% hit. That's nice, you're 50%, I mean 56% of the job. But if it goes below 25%, max billable commission is 30%. Or sometimes they set it at 20. Whatever you set them at different areas, but by introducing positive and negative reinforcement into your system, you turn a $500,000 producer into $1 million producer. You turn a guy who, it's okay to turn into, you turn a guy who doesn't care about profit into one that does. And this is just one example of internal controls, guys. And these are some things we'll talk about this afternoon. We talked about this, so if you're gonna pick one area, you can't scale your whole company overnight in these functional areas. I'm gonna do the best sales and marketing, the best production, best cloud. You gotta pick one. What do you think the first most important pillar is to scale? Sales, revenue. If you have money coming in, your whole business goes down. So this is where you have to start thinking about a system, and we're gonna talk about this later today. We call it the FTSC model. So if you have 3 or 4 guys, or you're doing 3 to 5 million, you want to do 15 to 20 million, you have to ramp the sales team up. Or you get lucky and that one guy goes out and signs a couple commercial deals, but we can't create a sales strategy on luck. So we have to ramp up the system, and that's what this afternoon's about, is scaling in sales and marketing. We're gonna spend 2 hours on that, okay? Recruiting, comp plans, the whole deal. Nitty gritty, street level stuff. If you want to just take a look at what a $20 million restoration company, do you need every one of these positions? No, you don't need a sales processor. That's an auxiliary position. But you absolutely are going to need a sales coordinator, a field trainer. You could do away with the sales manager. Field trainer works harder. You need a production manager. You need accounts receivable, accounts payable. So some of these are critical key positions to scale. And I don't know what level you guys are at or how many of those positions you have filled now, but when you start saying, well, I want to do 20 million, I'm going to knock it out of the park. You have to start, if you want to maintain 20 million, you have to start thinking about filling and just thinking about what do these critical key positions do and how do they scale my company? Because you can't do it by yourself. I couldn't do it by myself in Columbus, Ohio. Yeah, we got lucky and went and did 25 million. Woo. We only had 1, 2 girls in the office and 2 people, me and my partner, hustling these sales guys, doing these skid trains, all that stuff. But guess what? 3 months later, what do we have? We had a company that looked like this. Because there's no way to maintain that, build it, and collect it by yourself. So It's one thing to say you want to do 20 million. You have to start thinking about the system to set up to scale and actually do it. Okay. We're going to talk about this later today, storm life cycle. There's critical areas when that storm hits. You get about a 2-year data loss. Was it Minnesota, 2 years? Anybody have a 1 year? You typically get 2 years. You get 2 years, but let's be honest. The first year is our high growth period, right? Second year, things slow down. There's things you guys can do as leaders in that sales and marketing module to scale your company and double. You want to say, well, I want to double and triple my revenues. One thing to say it. It's another way to have a system. We're talking about a system and how to do that. And there's key points in that first 6 months to a year, exactly what you need to do and when you need to build that team, how many people, how you got to motivate them. And it's all tied into a system to make that, instead of doing 3 to 5 million, do it more like, 10, 15, 20. And we'll talk about this later today. I won't get this now, but a typical life cycle of a mediocre salesperson. And we'll talk about how to get that mediocre salesperson to be a rock star $1 million producer. It's not, you can't make everybody successful. Some people aren't destined. Some people are happy turning in 3 jobs a month, paying their cell phone bill, rent, and they want to leave in the winter, and that's okay. So that's 80% of your sales team. But your goal is to find those 3 or 4 horses, right? How do you find those 3 or 4 horses? To make, train, and manage the $1 million producers. So we'll talk about that a little bit later today.